Hi, the date is the 19th of July, 2026, and I have been wanting to improve my life for a while. I've been wanting to become who I want to be and achieve what I want to achieve. But my method of doing that around self-improvement and solving my issues hasn't been working, and I've been thinking, how can I fix these issues, or how can I become the person I want to be and get what I want to achieve in life if I always have these reoccurring issues? And it made me realize that when I was trying to solve these complicated issues that most people don't face into their midlife crisis, I hadn't solved the basic stuff that you should build your habits of even before my age, when you're young. And I'm talking about sleep, drinking water, and just eating food in general. Whereas in society today, we are struggling to get especially sleep. And that's a problem because if our emotional state influences the decisions we make, and not getting enough sleep affects our emotional state, like stopping us from processing our emotions and managing them, and all of that area, then we're put in a position where it's affecting our actions, and we are the sum of our actions. Our actions obviously decide what we achieve and who we become. And when we can't even manage our emotional state, that puts us in a position where all of our decisions are genuinely worse off. And so, if we, and this is good for the big social media companies that want to keep you on your phone and doing all these things, because if it negatively affects your decision making, you're going to make more bad decisions, like staying up on your phone all night, which makes them more money. But as Immanuel Kant said, it's immoral to use yourself to use a person as a means to an end. And I completely agree with that. It is genuinely wrong to use someone for profit, and the only way to really break free of that is to get sleep, stop scrolling, rebuild your mental state so that you have the option to make these decisions. Because if you don't have your mental state, you're not even you. Or you're just making your actions as a lesser version of you, as a you controlled by your emotions, as a you who can't manage your emotions. And obviously, emotions have an important part to play in our decisions, because our emotions make up a big part of our internal. But what they will end up doing is they will mess up our internal, because we won't have the energy to control that. And then they will go on to affect our external. They'll go on to mess up us achieving stuff and mess up us gaining what we want in the world, because we will not be able to make the decisions and take the actions to get us there. So I was talking about how I want to, fix my life and fix my problems. The first step is getting sleep, so you are in a proper mental state. And then the second step is drinking water and eating food, so that your body isn't completely influencing your decisions either. And if you have a healthy body and a healthy mind, then the decisions you make and the actions you take will be more aligned with what you want as a person. Because if you start treating your mind and your body with respect, then you will start putting energy behind your decisions, and that will kind of take you in the direction you want to go. So just to talk a little bit more about the implementations, if anyone doesn't have any ideas, I bought 2-liter water bottle, gonna keep one in my car, gonna keep one in my house next to my bed to make sure I always get water. Food has never really been an issue for me personally. Then in terms of, well, food was an issue when I was kind of budgeting when I first moved out of the house, but now it kind of sorted itself out. And in terms of sleep, sleep is the hardest. Sleep is so difficult because you have people telling you online, don't eat 3 hours before going to sleep, don't go on your phone, don't take in any light, have a relaxing period, drink tea, do this, do that. When I think a lot of it is overstated how important it is. Because I'm going to be honest, in the middle of the day, even after I got sleep, I've been in a movie theater watching a movie, falling asleep, and staring straight at a screen. I don't personally, so I'm not like a health professional or anything, but I don't personally think that the screens have as much to do with it as people think. I slightly agree with the eating. I wouldn't eat 2 or 3 hours before going to sleep just because I find it affects my quality of sleep. Then again, it's just your quality of sleep. It's not actually getting sleep, so you can still build the habit of getting sleep and sometimes have a lesser quality. So it's not actually that big of a deal. And then I've taken a more drastic action around my sleep environment, whereas I spent more money than I should have on a mattress that would be my consistent sleeping environment, and that worked for a while. But then I didn't want to sleep on a single mattress anymore, and it was a pain moving it around, and it just didn't work with my environment. And so what I did is I invested a decent amount of money into a proper good sleeping bag. And I know it sounds a bit strange, but now I sleep in a sleeping bag. It was expensive, but it can kind of last in any environment. It's like super durable, super kind of expanding. So I could even sleep on like hardwood and be okay. And then it's like very large, and then it can like go in -14 temperatures, -32 max Celsius. And so it's kind of like an all around. And I have to dog sit for these people and house sit. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my sleeping bag to keep that consistent sleep environment. And I made a rule for myself. 1, I have to be in that sleeping bag before 10 o'clock. And 2, when I'm in that sleeping bag, I can't be going on my phone or looking at screens. I'm in the middle about listening to a podcast to fall asleep, but my main issue with that is it keeps playing once I'm asleep, so it can affect the quality of your sleep. So I'm probably not going to do that. But yeah, like a consistent sleep environment. I literally have a sleeping bag I just take with me, and I'm just in that sleeping bag and off my electronics at the same time. I was like on my phone right before I went to bed the other night, and I ended up getting a great sleep. So I think that point is a little bit overstated, but I think that the time that you're laying in bed, even if you can fall asleep while listening to something or on your phone, I think that little piece of time before you fall asleep, if you don't go on anything, then it puts you in more of a sleeping kind of mindset. And I find I always wake up a bit easier in the morning when it's like that. So, yeah. And I guess the next step will be to move on from the basics, to move on to something a little more complicated. But I think building the habit of getting a good sleep is genuinely one of the most important things you can do, because I don't want to say it will change your whole life, but it will kind of change your whole life. It'll change who you become. It'll change what you achieve, because it affects your actions so drastically. And I'm overstating a small bit, especially for me, because I've talked a bit about how I struggle with self-sabotage a lot, and that self-sabotage comes from taking actions because my emotional state is not stabilized, and the full counter to that is just getting sleep. So to avoid self-sabotage and to avoid me kind of wrecking my kind of life, I just need to get sleep, which everybody's mind works differently. I think some people can function a little bit better, but this is like what I'm working on right now. And yeah, so that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.